So we're going to multiply. So let's go ahead and see what the FOIL method is. And this should sound pretty familiar. Most students have used the FOIL method. So it's just first, outside, inside, last. So it's just a way to remember that when you're doing FOIL. So first, and I'm actually going to color code this a little bit. Boop. Let's go with pink for the third one. And we'll go with kind of an orange for that last one there. Okay. So first refers to literally the first pieces in each of the sets of parentheses. So we say x times x and we get x squared. Outside refers to literally the farthest to the outside that you can get. So that would be the x and the -7. So we have x times -7, and that would get us -7x. Inside refers to the ones that you can get closest to the inside here. So it'd be 5 and x. So 5 times x gets us positive 5x. And then the last one here we did in orange. So last means literally the last pieces, just like the first pieces. So we have 5 and -7. So 5 times -7 is -35. All right, let's go ahead and write this all out. I'll pick a completely different color here. So now we want to combine our like terms when we write this out. So -7x plus 5x. One's negative, one's positive. I'm going to subtract. Since 7 is bigger than 5 and it's negative, I know that's -2. All right, so this is what we want. This is our answer, our simplified answer. We can't go any farther than this yet because we don't know what it equals. So pretty soon we'll get the ending of that where it'll say equals 0, and we'll be able to continue the solving. There are more than one way to do this. So I have also just done this where I use distribution. And I focus on this x first, and I go x times x, and I get x squared. X times -7, and I get -7x. You notice it's still working out exactly the same. And then I go to the next one, and I go 5 times x, and I get plus 5x. 5 times -7, and I get -35. If you notice, this is exactly the same thing that happened up here. It's actually the same order. So I'm using FOIL. I'm just not paying attention to first, outside, inside, last. I'm just looking at the factors. I'm saying x, I'm going to multiply by each piece, and then 5, I'm going to multiply by each piece. So either way that works. There's also the box method. I know I'm giving you a couple of different things here, but you can use the box method. And I would have x plus 5, x and -7, and I literally use it like a multiplication table like this. So x times x is x squared. Then I'd bring this over, and I'd have x times 5, and then I'd bring this down and this guy over, so I'd make -7x, and then -7 and 5 would come down, and that would be -35. Again, if you notice, these are the same 4 pieces I have right here. It's just a different way of looking at it. So there are so many ways to do the same type of problem. I definitely want you to do what makes sense for you. And for whatever reason, I've noticed this year, a lot of my IM2 students don't like FOIL. I think it's just kind of that very strict pattern. They don't like having to think about it in that way. And FOIL only works for a binomial times a binomial, which is what this is. So 2 numbers times 2 numbers. Once we start getting to bigger pieces, so like if we have a binomial times a trinomial, now FOIL doesn't work anymore because there's too many pieces. The first, outside, inside, last doesn't match up for every piece. So we would want to do something more like this in that situation. So it all depends on what makes the most sense to you, but there are multiple ways to do this. This would still work if we had a trinomial. All I'd have to do is add another box and say if I had, another piece here that I was adding or subtracting, whatever I'm doing there. So you can continue to make this box bigger and bigger and bigger if you need to. One cool thing about the box is the diagonals going from left to right here. So if I go like this, these should be like terms. So that's just a nice way to match that up. All right, so let's go ahead and type our answer in here. I think I've talked about this guy long enough. And again, I just showed you 3 ways to do the exact same problem. So it's just 3 different methods. And you just need to figure out kind of which one makes the most sense to you. All right, let's go ahead and check that. Perfect. So I'm not going to spend quite as much time on the next one. I'm just going to go ahead and start multiplying these ones. So 2x minus 1 and 7x minus 6. So I'm going to go ahead and use my, it's FOIL, but I just like to focus on it. So I'm going to use this 2x, and I'm going to multiply that by everything over here. So I'm distributing one piece at a time. So 2x times 7x. Remember, multiply coefficients first. So 2 times 7, we get 14. X times x, we get x squared. And then 2x times negative 6. Well, that's 2 times negative 6, so I get negative 12. And then I need to make sure I put the x on there. And then the next piece is this negative 1. So I'm going to distribute this guy. So I end up with negative 1 times negative 7x. So that's, sorry, negative 1 times 7x gives me negative 7x. Losing my mind here, too much talking. And then negative 1 times negative 6 gives me positive 6. Now I just need to make sure I go through and I combine my like terms. So I'll write this in a different one. So my like terms should be in the center in this method. That's generally how it should work out. So 14x squared stays 14x squared. I have negative 12 minus 7. So they're both negatives. I'm going to combine them and keep the negative sign. Because I had 12 negative, I'm going 7 more negative. Plus 6. Alrighty, so that is a simplified trinomial here. Plus 6. Whoopsie! That shouldn't be up there, so I'm going to go ahead. Let's see, can I highlight it? I can. I'm going to copy it and drop it down and paste. So I just didn't want to have to retype it, but we definitely didn't want it up there in the exponent. All right, if you were using FOIL, so I was using FOIL, but I just wasn't actually saying first, outside, inside, last, but it actually worked out the same way. But now FOIL wouldn't work if you were using that before. Now we have to use something along the lines of what I was doing where I was tracking it. So now, and I always like to use the binomial if I can, because I feel like it's a little less distribution. So I'm going to start with this 7u. I know it's on the right side, but it's still the same thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and start multiplying here in the front. So 7u times 4u squared, and I get 28. So 4 times 7. U to the third. Don't forget your power rules. This is a 1 here. So I have u to the first power times u squared. So we add the exponents because we have both bases that are the same. So we add those 2 exponents. All right, so now we're going to go to this guy here, and we have 7 times negative 2. So it's negative 14. And then u times u gets us u squared. And then we have 7u times negative 5. So that's negative 35u. And the only problem that I'm going to run into here is I'm writing too big. So I'm going to write this on the second line here, but just keep in mind it should all be kind of together. I just don't have quite enough room. And you know what? I can even do this. So I can give myself a little bit more room here. So I can continue to write it. So I'm going to take this 6 and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to go over to the beginning and I'm going to start, for whatever reason I like that idea of starting at the beginning. You could start with a negative 5 also. It's just a preference thing, I think, for me. So 6 times 4u squared, so that's 24. And u squared, because there is nothing else to combine that with. And then we have 6 times negative 2u, so negative 12u. And then 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. All right, so these ones, it throws off that like terms in the middle just a little bit. They're still in the middle, but they're separated just a little bit here. So I have my u squareds, and then I have just my u's. So remember, they have to be exactly the same to be like terms. So I'm only going to combine the ones that are exactly the same as far as having the variable with the exponent the same. So it's negative 14 and positive 24. They're opposites, so I'm going to subtract. And then I will let the bigger number decide my sign there. So it's going to be positive u squared. And then I have negative 35u and negative 12. Those are both negatives, so now I'm going to combine them. So I end up with, didn't mean to mark the board there, 7 and 4u. So 47u, negative. I had 35 negative, I went 12 more negative. And then just the negative 30 gets kind of tacked on there. All right, so now I have to keep going back and forth. 28u cubed plus 10u squared minus 47u. Whoopsie. I forgot to hit my over arrow. Minus, yep. Minus 47u minus 30. All right. Yay. Let's keep on moving.